Simon says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
In a previous lesson, we have discussed the selection tool. The selection tool has a lot of different purposes and applications, including selecting, rotating, resizing. So if I rotate from the outside here, you can see me doing that. I'll go ahead and resize, just coming out from here. I'm going to go ahead and undo that by just going over to Edit, Undo, and I'm back to that. Now, Illustrator has a whole series of other transformational tools that you may prefer at different times. So if we come over here to the left-hand side where our tools are, you're going to see that I have the Rotate tool. If I right-click on that, couched in there is my Reflect tool. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on this little icon right there, and I'm going to bring this out so I can see them both just like this. Now to the right of that, you're going to see I also have my Scale tool and my Shear tool. We're going to focus on these. We're not going to be talking about the Reshape tool in this class, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring those out just the same and have them over here. Now let's go ahead and see what they do. Now with this selected, I'm going to go ahead now and just choose this tool, which is my Rotate tool. Now with this tool selected, I don't actually have to select the object itself. Notice there's no bounding box per se, but if you'll notice here, there's a little crosshair right there. At any place on the canvas, I can then click and drag. Notice that it's a little bit weird at first because like, wait, I can't see anything, I'm not grabbing anything, but I can really be anywhere on the canvas and rotate it. Bring that back. You'll also notice that if I hold down the Shift key, I'm also rotating it and locking it at 45 degrees, just like I did in a previous lesson. Pretty great. Now, you'll also notice, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit, that I have this little what we call a reference point or registration point, this little blue guy right there. I'm going to go ahead and back out again. And what that's going to do is basically set kind of like the fulcrum of how that's going to rotate. So again, you'll notice that when I rotate it, it rotates right there in the center of that little fulcrum. Now, if I now go over here and I just simply click, notice that fulcrum now gets lodged over here in the upper right. And now when I rotate, you'll see it's rotating around that fulcrum. So pretty neat. Now, a lot of us discover this kind of by accident. Like we didn't mean to click. And then we say, well, what's going on here? Why is it doing it there? Well, now you know, because this little blue guy is now dictating where it's going to rotate around. So I'm going to bring that right back, and then now it's right back in the center. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this. So earlier we discussed the Magic Wand tool where I was able to double click on the Magic Wand tool and I was able to see some extra options. Now, when I double click on this, you'll see I get my rotate options. So if you know exactly how you want it to rotate, you can absolutely do that. So if I know for sure I want this to rotate, let's just say 90 degrees, I can go ahead and do that. And then watch this, I'm going to click on copy, and now it's done that. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and undo one more time. This time I'm going to go ahead and double click on it and I'm going to say 90, but this time I'm going to say copy. And you'll see that now, in addition to having my initial copy, I now have this copy. So not only did I rotate, but I also made another copy of it. Just right from this dialog box. You see, bam, I can go ahead and do that. Now let's do 45 degrees and choose copy. And now come back to my selection tool. Now I have a whole series of planes. Click away and you can see what I have there. All right, so a lot of functionality there. Now, of course, I could have double clicked on this as well. So I'm going to just select this, double click on this icon, and I pretty much get the same options. Okay, so earlier I double clicked on this one, and then on this one I double clicked. Right, same functionality, same outcome. So let's go ahead and explore some of these other ones. So with this one still selected, I'm going to now choose this guy here, which is my Reflect tool. Reflection is going to be really important for when you are drawing out objects. So sometimes you have just one half of an object. Let's say you're drawing out a wine bottle or a face. The other side of that object that you've drawn is going to be identical to the one that you've drawn on the left-hand side. You might just want to reflect it. In this case, I just want to reflect it, so we're just going to have a little bit of a different side to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just double click on that, and you're going to see I have my horizontal option, just like that, to reflect, or my vertical option. And notice it's giving me a preview. How's it giving me a preview? Because I have preview selected. So you can see here, if I want to do that, and let's just say I want to have them kind of go, nose to nose here, I have this as a horizontal reflect, and I'm not changing the angle. I'm going to simply choose copy, and now I'm just going to use my shift key and my arrow keys just to kind of nudge those up there. And now, without having to do too much effort at all, I've now reflected them. Now let me just move these out of the way so you can really see it. Okay, so again, all I did was just double click on it to get there. So here I was with this selected, I double clicked, and then you can play around with if you want to do a vertical reflection, horizontal reflection, and even potentially changing the angle when you do your reflection. But just remembering that one option is to copy, and the other one is just to make a reflection of that object, but not making a copy. All right, let's go ahead and now cancel that, and let's just check out some of our other options here. I'll just choose this one, come back to my selection tool, choose this one, and now you'll see I have this one, which is just the scale tool. Scale just means size. So far we've seen how we can do that pretty nicely and easily with our regular selection tool, but let's see what kind of tricks we have using the scale tool icon here. So when I click on that, you'll notice how my little bounding box goes away. And very similar to how I saw with my rotation tool, I don't have to click on any little bounding box or anything like that. I can just go ahead and move my mouse to the outside, and you'll see how it's now growing. Okay, and I can go this way, etc. Now you will notice once again that I have this little blue little crosshair reference point right there. That's telling me where it is in fact scaling from. So if I want to scale, let's just say from right there, I'm going to get a very different experience. So now I'm going to go back to this tool if it's not highlighted already, and you'll see now it's kind of just leaning on that part right there. It doesn't come from the center. So sometimes you really want it to sort of like have a base on one little part, and that's where this base is, and then it will then scale or grow right from there, or potentially even sync right from here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and double click this time, and we'll see what other options we have here. And you'll see here non-uniform or uniform. Well, some of you have made notice that when I was resizing it, it wasn't resizing and constraining the proportions at the same time. So this time I'm going to say uniform. All right, let's go ahead and just click OK. And now let's just see what it does there. See, I can now make it scale out by going out this way. Okay, great. Now it's uniform. I love that. And now let's go ahead and see what our options are within the dialog box. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to go back to uniform, and this is going to give me more choices. So I'd like to make this maybe about 1.5 the times bigger. So I'm going to just do 150, and you can see there it is, and it constrains the proportions. Now, going a little further, you do have these options here in terms of scaling the corners and scaling the strokes and effects. In future classes, we are going to be talking about strokes and effects, and also for our corners. When you see that the object is not scaling to proportion the way that you like to see it scale, you may want to tell it, hey, you know what, Illustrator, you need to also scale the corners, because if you have decided that the corner radius is a certain number and it's not scaling them according to what the new size is, you may want to make these changes. All right, so just remembering that you have these options here. Same with strokes. If you decide that your stroke or your outline is, let's say, 5 points, but you also want it to grow as the object grows to make it be actually 50 points, you'd want to make this choice here. Okay? Or if you don't want it to, if you want it to remain thin, you can uncheck this. All right? Now, of course, I have this option to copy as well. So now when I click away, you will see that I have my original and I have my new one because I've now made a copy of this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And now let's go over here to our next one, which is going to be our shear. So if you'll see here, I have my shear tool. And then just like that, let's make sure that this is first selected. And now, just like how I had with my other object, I'm going to see here I have my little crosshair, my little registration point. And this is what shear is going to allow us to do. Maybe you want to shear this way. You're going to kind of give it the effect that it's sort of bent a little bit. You can see how, okay, I want it to be a little bit different than the rest of these. Maybe it's in the middle of turning. Maybe it's a different angle of sorts. You can absolutely do that. Okay, let's go ahead now and double click back on this and let's see what our options are here. Just knowing that I have other ways of adjusting this. So you'll see there's this little dial here. If I wanted to do it a little more manually and get a little preview of it, you can see I can do that. It's kind of neat. You can do it that way. And just notice how the numbers over here on the right-hand side change. I'm giving a nice little preview. Now, if you want to get kind of a real-time preview, if you click inside of this box where the degrees are, notice my cursor is in there. I'm going to use my little mouse wheel to then just incrementally resize it. See that? Okay, pretty neat. And you can see I'm seeing it in real time. I know exactly what I'm going to get as I'm getting it. When I click and drag on this, I have to wait to release the mouse to see it. All right, so okay, cool. Now that's the effect that I'm getting. All right, now we can check out some of these options here. Kind of subtle options, but let's come over here to our angle of our axis and pretty much do the same thing. If it's a little bit too much of a hard angle, you can adjust that. Bring that up, bring that down. And you can see what choices you're going to get. You have all the control in the world. All right, and then with these guys, slight different ones, you can see how it's going a little bit on the horizontal versus the vertical axis. All right, as you can see how it's all kind of rotating according to what's here in the center. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and just reminding you of, depending on where you have your registration point, if you have it up here, your outcome is going to be significantly different. Okay, so just keeping that in mind. All right, so it's a lesser used tool, this Shear tool, but it's a good back pocket tool in case it comes up where you really need to make manipulations to your objects. All right, so definitely going next level with what we can do with our selection tool. So practice it, get comfortable with it, and we'll see you in the next lesson.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.